Welcome to the Mom and podcast. I'm Missy Stevens, mom and writer, foster child advocate, and this week, manager of construction chaos because our kitchen facelift has started. I apologize if you can hear it in the background. And I think for the next foreseeable number of podcasts, I'll just be that. That'll be my thing because it's chaos here.
Oh my gosh, do you have before pictures?
We will have befores, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then afters, hopefully, eventually.
I hope the afters come quickly, but we'll see.
And I'm Suzanne Kearns, mom and writer, LGBTQ and sex ed advocate, and this week, graduation prepper. As we are recording, it is 2 days until graduation. As you are listening to this, I have a graduate who, holy crap, better have a job by now because, oh my gosh, every day I'm like, you know how to use Indeed.com? But anyway, yeah, we are cleaning cars, we're pulling weeds, getting ready for guests, buying food. We've never had this much food in our kitchen, so very excited. It's going to be a fun week.
It is going to be a fun week. I'm excited for you. Well, our guest today, we are also excited about. It is Jean Stehle, mom and writer, educator, consultant, calendar designer, and literary liaison. In addition to her day job as a middle school librarian, Jean is a consultant for PBS Learning Media, has written for several online publications, and is currently revising her coming of middle age novel, which I cannot wait to read. I know the premise of the book, and I'm really excited about it.
That sounds so good.
Jean regularly collaborates with her local bookstore, Newtonville Books, to host author events to create community through the power of books. Jean is also an entrepreneur and co-founder of the calendar company Schedule, and we'll be talking a lot about that later. She lives just outside of Boston with that husband, 2 children, and countless books. Welcome.
Thank you. It is so wonderful to be here. I'm really excited.
And I am always excited to talk to a librarian. 100%. I have 100% track record of every librarian I've ever met being just completely awesome. So I'm looking forward to learning more about you. And we learned a little bit about you in your bio, but can you also give us a little 101 about where your career started and any big decisions along the way that got you to where you are?
Well, I started off really as a kid, really passionate about storytelling, writing, scripts and plays and stories and all that good stuff. And I set my ambitions on becoming a filmmaker one day. So in college, I studied cinema and photography. And I had an opportunity to spend some time in Los Angeles, naturally the entertainment mecca of the world. And one summer I worked on the Universal lot as a costume intern. And so that was a great opportunity to see what it's like behind the curtain, like the ins and outs of a movie.
So cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. And yet also very average in a weird way.
Yeah.
You just at the end of the day, you're still doing your desk job or you're running errands as, an intern and whatnot. But there definitely were some cool perks. And then I returned to Los Angeles after I graduated from college. And this time I worked for a talent agent. And that was another great opportunity because I got to see what it was like on the deal making side of things in the film world. And as much as I had, fabulous stories to tell my friends and family about my adventures, it wasn't satisfying me creatively. And I felt like a bit of an anomaly and I love the people that I worked with at this agency, but they thought it was almost admirable that I'd go home after work and I wouldn't turn on the TV or I wouldn't go to the movies. I was really just like snuggled up with a good book. And they were just like, "How you read?" Darn tune, I read. And I just decided to pivot at that point. I saw that if I continued to do the work and I continued to put myself out there, that I would do really well for myself. But it wasn't giving me that satisfaction that I had so craved, that I really felt in my roots as a kid. And so I pivoted. I come from a long line of teachers. My grandmother taught in a one-room schoolhouse. My parents were teachers. And I said, you know what? Like, let's get creative day one. Like, let's go back to school and become a teacher. And so I did that. I taught in New York City. I met my now husband, taught in Boston. And then I pivoted once again after I had children. I took a good amount of time off and it gave me the space to reimagine what I wanted to do professionally. And so I took my love of literature, because that was my favorite part of teaching, and then my love of tech and research, and became a school librarian. So it's been fun. It's really, when I started working in education, I was subbing at my old elementary school, and I ran
Oh,
into a
that's
former
awesome.
teacher, and she said, "Oh, you're coming from the entertainment industry, huh, Jean?" I said, "Yeah, I know. This is a really big pivot going into education." And she said, "No, no, no." She's like, "If you want to be a great educator, you have to be an entertainer. You have to know how to take information and make it accessible and fun and engaging." And she's right. She's right. So it's
Yeah.
served me well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
Ah,
sense.
it really does. And I didn't know all of that about your story, so I'm excited to hear that. And we want to go back to some of that. We're going to jump around a little bit, but we want to talk about entrepreneurship for a minute before we
Mhm.
launch into some of the other things you're doing now. But we want to talk about what it's like to have an idea for a business and think of a product and then make it happen. Like, I really don't understand that, how you go from idea to thing. So tell us about Schedule and how it came to be.
Well, it came to be during the pandemic, like a lot of great ideas and changes. I feel like in my family, we made small changes and big changes during that time. And I found that I was going to blow if one more person in my house asked me what we're having for dinner. I couldn't handle it anymore. I don't know if you two relate.
Oh,
Maybe.
yes.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, it just seems this universal thing. And so I was trying to find a wall calendar where I could take that dry erase marker and, put up the schedule for the week. And nothing was really matching what I wanted. And for me, as a writer and a book lover, I've always been drawn to quotes. And so I ended up just getting my own long roll of dry erase paper, and I, smacked it onto our kitchen wall, and I put an inspiring quote for the week. And it felt like it anchored whatever was our challenge.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Whatever our challenge was for the week, something to look upon. It could be, we had seen a movie that week and we got really playful, like with Ferris Bueller's Day Off, like life moves pretty fast if you don't, you know what I mean? But then
Yep.
it could also be something more serious. And then I put, our family's important information in our schedule. And then I also included to-dos and then dinner. And then when my family, my husband included, asked me, that dreaded question, what's for dinner? Or, what time's my Zoom? Or I could remove myself from the equation because I really wasn't needed. You can take it upon yourself to go to the board. Now it's called schedule, and figure it
Yeah.
out for yourself. And it was so nice because then I didn't feel that, like, resentment or frustration that people were asking me questions that they could find the answers to themselves.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah. Oh my
Yes.
God. It makes
Oh, it
so
makes
much
so
sense.
much
I
sense.
feel like we had a discussion about this during the pandemic as an episode,
Mhm.
probably 100 episodes ago, where I had the biggest aha moment because it was annoying me so much that everybody would come to me like, what's for dinner? First of all, the fact that they think that I am the primary dinner maker, which shouldn't necessarily be the case,
Right.
but just this idea that, yeah, you can find that out some other way. But it hit me finally that in this world where they had no control of anything and everything was so upside
Oh,
down, like just having this knowledge of like what's going to happen next and having like a tentpole moment in their day that is dinner and they know
yeah.
what it's going to be is like this anchoring security of like what their future holds when everything else is so uncertain. So I just think that is a beautiful thing it's a gift to them. It's a
Yeah,
gift
you
to
gave them a
you
gift.
because they're not bugging you, but it also is a
Right.
gift to them because I think they're not asking to drive us crazy. They are asking because that is just one element of certainty in a completely uncertain world for them.
Yeah.
And so I think it is. It's like a little security.
I appreciate the way you shared that because that is it. It's an empathetic approach. Like, no one's trying to bug us. And especially during COVID, having that sense of safety, knowing, okay, I know I have to leave the house by X amount of time to do, whatever, or my Zoom begins at, this time. And when kids know that they can answer their own questions, it creates this sense of confidence and independence,
Yep.
Yeah.
which is so important when the wheels had come off the bus, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah, and even now, my
They
kids want to know what's next, whether it's food, whatever. They need to know, and they want to know the time, but I have really time-conscious kids. I don't know where they came from. It's not my thing. I suppose that came from their father, but, it's really, really important to them to know what's next, and to have it big and on the wall and easily changeable and easily accessible is a great idea.
Yeah. I think at
And
first I was scared to do it because I just thought they would complain about what was for dinner for that much longer.
Well,
But
that
I
does
d
happen.
but
Yeah.
I have actually found the opposite though, because it gives them, because usually we'll try to have a couple days up there, and I think it just gives their minds time to accept that, okay, those enchiladas are coming again.
That's what we're
Okay,
eating.
fine. So yeah, I think it actually takes away a little bit of the surprise.
hey, and they're welcome, right? Anytime they want to make they want to make dinner,
Exactly.
they can write, whatever it is they want to make.
Yes.
Right. As long as
Uh,
I'm ready for macaroni and cheese and hot dogs.
yeah.
That's dinner of choice.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I'm the nuts and bolts girls. I
Yeah,
like
she
to
is.
know, like, I'm picturing you on Shark Tank now with this idea. Like, if there is someone out there that has this invention idea or a product, because there's a kind of the difference between a service. We talk to a lot of people who do services of coaching or different podcasters or writers, and that's just something you can just kind of you just do. You buy a few
Mhm.
things, but producing an actual product is a
Mm.
whole different animal that I'd never even thought of. So, like, where do people even start with something like that when you're looking at manufacturing a product?
It's such a good question because you're right. It isn't just you and your idea. It's something that you need to translate.
Mhm.
And that's where I'm really fortunate. Schedule would still be just this idea in my head if it wasn't for my husband, Josh, who had a lot of experience and continues to with creating products through a job he had like 2 jobs ago.
Oh, wow.
So let's say you don't have a spouse that knows about products and whatnot. Believe it or not, I'd say by starting within your own network and saying, I have an idea and, it's a new kind of marker. And, how would I even produce this? I think people would be surprised to know that by asking people, and maybe if, a coworker or a friend or family member doesn't have the answer right away, I truly believe once you start talking about an idea, there's a bit of a ripple effect. And so the
Mhm.
next time you connect with your friend might then say, oh, I know someone who dot, dot, dot. Or going onto social media. I mean, I know it can be a little vulnerable to put yourself out there and say, I know nothing about manufacturing, but I have an idea. I truly believe in my core that there are so many kind people out there that love sharing their knowledge.
Mhm.
If you're in the LinkedIn community, that would absolutely be the way to go.
Mhm.
And even just
Great
straight
idea.
up Googling and then putting the time in to actually make like we found someone to produce our products, a family business, which was great, a father-son team maybe 45 minutes away from us. We're just outside of Boston. And my husband and I spent that time developing the relationship with them, getting to know other vendors to see who would be a good fit for us. It was
Mhm.
important for us that we make our products stateside, but it all comes down to numbers too and whatnot. So I
Right.
think
Mhm.
really asking if you don't know and
Yeah.
recognizing like, oh, that this is sort of scary, but that's okay. It can be scary. Start talking about it.
Yeah.
It's a great advice for, like, anything that you're trying to do. Just ask. Start
Yeah.
Yeah.
asking and don't be afraid to ask.
And we talk about that
Yes.
a lot. We just met last week's episode with Whitney, the idea of elevating the conversations that you have with people in your circle, which is just like, yeah, don't just talk about what your kids are up to, but talk about your ideas. You never know who next to you in the pickup line might,
Yeah.
they might manufacture things. Who knows?
Yes. I listened to that episode and I was like, darn too. And that is what you do because you don't know. And people love helping people. I think
Yes.
especially parents, there's something about because we know how hard it is when we have that record scratch moment where our lives
Yeah.
change and suddenly it's like we'll take any type of help we can get. And I
Mhm.
always get like a ping, like a good feeling when I can when I can connect people together or help someone, with something
Yeah.
big or small.
Yes.
Yeah, most people love to help and share.
I think we
Yeah.
do. It does. It gives all of us a little zing. And now, were there some things that went better than others, or some lessons that maybe you learned that you could share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about the sharing. Let's see. I'll start with challenges first. One challenge was completely underestimating the amount of time it takes to translate an idea, right, and turn it into a product.
Mm-hmm.
And then in our case, we use Kickstarter, right? So we had to spend a lot of time putting together our story. What's our message? Why would someone want to, help us out so we could get that first print run? And in my mind's eye, I thought that the social media component would take less time. I mean, I just assumed everything would take less time
Mm-hmm.
than it did. And in hindsight, I wish I had reminded myself or thought to myself, the first time you do anything, it always takes longer because you don't have a point of reference, you don't have that background knowledge. So that was something that was definitely and still is really challenging. Already just as parents, we're pulled in so many different directions, let alone trying to launch a product, to launch a company. It is really hard. It's hard. But I'd have to say, what's been so gratifying is seeing people not only buy the calendars, and we have different kinds. We have Schedule for Kids, which is great for fostering independence with, their schoolwork, but then also like emotional check-ins, like, how are you feeling today? Just circling a smiley face spectrum to like a sad face spectrum. And what's really cool is then receiving text from friends of friends, like, oh, I was at my friend's house and look what I saw, in their kid's room. And so these,
cool.
this isn't coming from my mom or my dad or, my friends. It's now slowly rippling out. And we even have customers abroad, like in France, in Amsterdam, and it's been such a trip to have to now use Google Translate to try to make sure we're meeting our customers' needs. And so it is really, it's very trippy to imagine that 8,000 miles away, there's this little seed idea I had, like, smacked on someone's wall in Italy.
Just pretty great.
Really cool. It's really cool.
That, you know what, and I feel podcasting's a little tough. It is not a visual medium, but we're talking so much about schedule. So we'll overlay for anybody who is watching the video. You can see that, and obviously we'll share pictures of it in the group and stuff. And you can go to the website and check it out as well. But for people who may be driving and not able to look at that right now, can you give us a little breakdown of kind of what they would see when they order this product or what they will be looking at?
Absolutely. So we have a Schedule 7, which is a 7-day planner. And so at the top of the planner, you'll see the quote of the week. I mean, I will just Google on a Sunday night, like inspiring quotes or funny quotes or, Tina Turner passed recently. Like, is there something like I do like incorporating current events at times. I just sort of think it's neat. It's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, it adds to the conversation, right? When you're at the dinner
absolutely.
table.
Yeah, why did mom choose that quote or dad? Or sometimes my children will choose, like if they are anticipating like a big event at school or with athletics, like go for it,
Yeah.
And then below the quote, we have the days a week broken out into 7 different categories. Or if you wanted a smaller schedule, we have Friday and Saturday put under one column. So it's just your preference. And then that's where I'm listing, whatever our activities are, doctor's appointments, all that good stuff. And then at the very bottom of the column, we have a to-do brick. We call them bricks. And then we have the menu brick. And then last but not least, in the far right corner, we have tell me something good. And that's an opportunity to hit the pause button at any time during the week and jot down something that went well for you. So it could be something, as simple as I went to a friend's house and we had such a fun time, or I aced a test, or mom or dad did well in a podcast interview, or, which I will be.
Put that on
may
there.
Or may not.
Yeah, write that on there the minute you leave here.
Yes. I love that. Such a nice little gratitude
that kind of gave
practice.
me chills.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. I'm glad. It's funny. It's like sometimes it feels, I know kindness has become like language that's more popular, rightfully so, and appreciation and gratitude. And then sometimes I do get a little nervous saying, like, oh, yeah, we do have a section where you should write down something good. And I have to work on re-hardwiring that part of my brain to just focus on why I'm really proud of it because I am. It's important to celebrate these little milestones or big milestones that
Mhm.
you and your family experience on a daily or weekly basis.
Yeah, to focus on something other than the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's so easy to just become robotic and go through the motions and forget about that human side, right? Because it all comes
Mhm.
down to our emotions and how we're feeling. And it's
Yeah.
through these good events that we feel these great feelings.
Yeah. And I love having a specific invitation for them to share that because it's so funny. I think I've seen a couple memes about this too, but my son is infamous for it, where I'll be like, "How's your day? It's good, whatever."
Right.
And then I'll get a newsletter from the school and I'll see a picture of him like, holding the back of a dragon puppet while they're doing some like thing. I'm like, "Oh, did something happen today?" Or, they'll be sitting there eating crepes that someone's making in a French class or something. I'm like, okay, that's something to talk that's a cool thing to talk about, and I just think that
Yeah.
so much happens during their day that they don't necessarily think, "Oh, it's not like." Well, my daughter does have raccoons running around her school, so that's noteworthy.
Whoa.
But, if they don't feel like
Uh,
it's so over the top exciting that they're like,
right.
well, it's not that remarkable, why would I even mention it?" But to have an invitation and a space for them to just share those little things, I love it.
I do too. I have trouble answering that question as an adult. When people are like, "How was your day?" That I just do with the, like, that gut reaction of, "It was fine. It was
It's
great.
fine.
Whatever."
Mhm.
Or if somebody like, I'll run into somebody and I'll be like, "What have you been up to?" And I'm up to a bunch of things, but I can't think of a single one to answer that question.
Trick
So
question.
it's yeah, so I'm sure when they come home from school tired, like, that's hard, but maybe that little reminder on the wall when it strikes them, they can go write a note about
Mhm.
something good.
Mhm.
I like that.
And then once they do that, then that's for us, our schedules in our kitchen where we eat dinner. So it's very easy to see,
Mhm.
oh, you mentioned, da da da, like let's talk about it type thing.
Yeah.
So, or encourage kids if they are sharing from their day, go grab a dry erase marker, like put that up there. That's really important. And yeah, I appreciate what you said, Susanna. It doesn't have to be, and Missy too, like it doesn't have to be anything huge. Sometimes it's these small moments that are just as powerful, if not more so, than acing the test or whatnot.
Yep.
Not that that stuff
Yeah,
isn't important.
yeah.
Love it.
Really is. Okay, well, people need to go check out Schedule, and we'll put all the links to all of that. We'll go over that at the end too, but we'll make sure everybody knows where to find it and buy it. But it's a great product and it is really customizable and you can use it for so many things. But we also want to pivot and talk about some of the other things you're doing, all about the pivots here.
Mhm.
I
Love pivots.
really recently I read your essay, How I Discovered the Advantage Motherhood Offers, and talk about getting chills. It gave me chills, and we'll link to it in the show notes. It's over on Medium. But that fear, it's about the fear of being undervalued, that people will not think mothers can do the job or whatever the task may be. And meanwhile, we're superheroes. But it's a real
Superheroes.
concern with any job, I think. So can you talk a little bit about what inspired that essay for you and why you wrote it?
Thank you for reading it, first of all. That really means a lot. I'm
Sure.
so glad that you enjoyed it and you took something away from it.
Uh,
I was scrolling through LinkedIn and I'd recently connected with an attorney that we had been using for schedule. And she posted a story about essentially why you'd want to work with her, but her angle was really unique. She said, when I was pregnant with twins, my goal was to deliver them naturally without any pain medication. And at first of all, I'm like, whoa, good for you. That's great. Why is this on, LinkedIn? This feels like a
right.
Facebook type of comment,
Yeah.
right? But I I read on, very curious. And she went on to share how, with her organizational style, with her determination, she laid out the steps needed to be taken in order for her to fulfill her goal.
Mm,
And that's the essence of the post.
Mhm.
And that just rocked my world because here's this woman who is not hiding the fact or downplaying the fact that she's a mother of twins and that makes her more of a liability, right? Like that's how I felt when I was returning to work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But she's shining a light on it. She's using it to show how it enhances the work that she does. And that was a huge moment for me because I stopped and I thought, "Oh my goodness. Yes, I was a great teacher before I had children, but hot damn, am I an even better educator now?" And for me, it was a moment to realize that, when I was interviewing for jobs and I was returning to work, I felt like I had to hide the fact that I was a mom. I mean, I
Yeah.
clearly shared it. I had children and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, but I was so worried that that would make me a liability. And after reading that essay, I thought about all of the things I do so well. Like motherhood offers this very unique skill set. And that isn't to say that if you aren't a parent, you don't bring your unique skill sets to the
Right.
table. But for me, like the way I have to anticipate now as a mom, the importance of being an empathetic listener,
Mhm.
multitask anyone, like making those split second decisions. And I realized, like, yes, like, I feel like we've been trained to think that, I don't know, there's this, uh, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like there's this cultural perception that if you're staying at home, raising your children full time, that somehow it's like those commercials from the 80s, like women eating bonbons, or I mean, what is a bonbon? I still don't know. But do you know what I
I've
mean? Where
yet
it's
to
like
have one.
Yes. Mhm.
someone's telling the story for us that you're
Mhm.
just kicking back and relaxing. It's the most grueling yet rewarding job that we have.
Yeah.
And that just shifted everything for me. And it's my hope that women who are or primary caregivers that are thinking about going back to work, part-time, quarter-time, full-time, whatever, that they pause and they recognize all that they've done that is applicable to a job. But with that said, if you're a caregiver, you're full-time, you work full-time from home, but you do not get paid, no
Mhm.
benefits, no vacations,
Right.
I'm
but
familiar.
it's yeah, but that it's still you're still just as valuable and you still have so much to offer. And I guess I felt like when I wasn't working outside of the home, I didn't have as much to feel valuable over, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
You're singing our song.
That's why we started the podcast to try to
Yeah.
remind moms that they are mom and dot dot dot. That yeah,
Yes.
there's so much else.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
think that's what the 2 of you are doing and what you've created and what's growing because of it is this. When we all get together and we start talking and listening to each other's stories, we become stronger and there's a
Mm.
validation like, "Oh, heck yeah, it's really hard to do this, and that and not get that external, reward or type of recognition rather from a boss." It's really hard when you work your butt off and, maybe your partner will say, "Hey, thanks, I appreciate it." But it's really hard, and so knowing
Yeah.
that and I feel that way too when I connect with someone new or if I'm following like a I don't know, I stumbled upon this comedian slash I don't think she's a comedian, she's just a mom telling it how it is on Instagram, and somehow it made me feel better to hear her talk about how hard it is to be a mom.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
strength in numbers.
For
Yes,
sure. For
solidarity,
sure.
ladies. But and as much as we do value, obviously, staying at home, we do love moms taking those risks like you did from the manufacturing side with schedule, but also you have taken your passion for books and writing and reading and harnessed that for this really cool service of hosting these live book events where you talk to authors in your community. And I do think that that is we kind of talked about the distinction between the product versus a service, so that is something that it's an idea, something that probably a lot of our listeners do have, whether it may be their writing or their art or something that they
Mhm.
want to just kind of expand on in a more public way. So what did that look like for you then?
Absolutely. For me, it started when I was welcoming authors into the middle school where I work at. And I realized, you know what, I'd love for my local bookstore to benefit from this instead of, Amazon or an
Mhm.
e-commerce site. And so I have to say, I felt really comfortable using my work email address, reaching out to my
Uh,
local bookstore owner
mhm.
that, of course, I'm in there. She knew who I was sort of, but not, too well. And when I offered her the idea of, hey, could we partner? And whenever an author comes to our school, we could offer that you would, have a supply of books. And it was very nerve wracking. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but that idea of putting yourself out there and asking.
Yes.
And she loved it. She's a working parent herself. And so that's how our relationship began. And then I met Missy at a Zibby retreat. All
Mhm.
roads seem to lead to Zibby Owens these
That's for
days,
sure.
which is a great
It's
thing.
uh,
And so when Zibby's memoir was coming out, Bookends, she said, it was about a year or so ago, she said, "Hey,
mhm.
I'm just putting it out into the universe. If anyone wants to host me at their local independent bookstore, let me know." And I felt very nervous reaching out to my bookseller friend, Mary Cotton of Newtonville Books, 'cause I thought, "Oh god, this is personal. I'm not using my work
Right.
address now. I can't hide behind my
Mhm.
work address." And it was scary. And she was all for it. She said, "That's great. Let's do it." And so that sort of opened up a lot of opportunities to take my passion of helping getting books into readers' hands and helping authors because it is so hard to be an author.
Mhm.
But I've thought about like for your listeners, okay, let's say don't have that email address from wherever you work.
Right.
Like what would you do? And I really believe wholeheartedly in the value of relationships. So whatever idea you have, that little spark that comes to mind, I guess if I were to do it again with that different set of parameters, I would go into the bookstore and I'd bring a friend with me because it's strength in numbers. Again,
Mhm.
like sometimes it's just nice to have someone by your side and just say, hey, if you're ever interested in, doing this, or I think it's okay to not have something concrete to share with someone that you don't know well that you want to partner with. I think keeping it loose and saying, hey, you know what? I love to read. I love connecting authors. I love supporting your bookstore. If you're ever interested in, grabbing coffee and spitballing, like let's talk and keeping it really loose.
Mhm.
And then that way also too, because I'm a human being. I don't I don't like rejection. And
No.
there's something really soft about like chances are no one's gonna say no right on the spot. You're also volunteering your time. Everyone will say yes to that.
Yeah.
Right.
And keeping it really open, right? Like let's see if anything transpires.
Yeah, it's that being brave again. Like,
Yeah.
it's people are, for the most part, pretty decent. So they're not gonna yell at
Yes.
you or laugh you out of the room, or they may say no eventually, but it's probably not gonna be as
Yeah,
horrible as you think it's going to be, whatever the no looks like.
absolutely. And the no is, there's so much to learn from that, and I really trust fate, and if my bookseller had said, "No, this isn't a good fit, but thank you." Again, a human being, she would be kind about it. I would knock on another door,
Yeah.
but it's what's that adage, something with like the first step is the hardest. I'm gonna mess this up, but it's like the hardest part is taking that first step,
It
right?
it
Yes.
is. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Just saying, "Okay, I'm gonna do this thing."
Even sharing with a friend, like, "Oh, I have this idea to, get involved with such and such local business." Even sharing it with a friend who maybe is not interested in being your wing person but somehow
Yeah.
when you say the words out loud, you're not trapped, they're not trapped in your head, and you have someone
Mhm.
else that maybe will encourage you, like, "Hey, did you drop by, the stationery store or whatever? Because you're really interested
Yeah.
in teaching calligraphy," or whatever it may be. I think words really go a long way.
I agree, and we're getting so close on time, I cannot
I
believe
know.
how fast this hour's going,
I'm a
but
talker. We
we're so
love it.
glad. We're so glad. That's why you're here. But we cannot have a librarian on and not talk about what's going on with banning books right now. and I don't even know what our real questions are. We're just mad
Just
and
like, how do we
bothered.
stop it?
But like, yeah, like how do we contribute to the fight to keep books on shelves? What do we do when there are so many people in our communities focused on the book instead of the real problems in the world?
And how do we support librarians? Because I know
Yes.
librarians are probably getting the brunt of the mess, especially at the school libraries where they're like, "Oh, why do we have this book that that
Yeah, I
they
know.
deem inappropriate and
Mhm.
unacceptable?"
And
Um,
don't let your kid read it, but my kid can read it. It makes me insane.
yeah,
Absolutely, Missy. Absolutely.
and answer all that in 2 minutes.
Yes, I will. Okay, ready, go. Okay. I'd say first off, buying books that are banned and gifting them, whether to family members, friends, your children, or a little free library is huge because ultimately it all comes down to commerce. And if the publishers see that the books are moving off the shelves, they're going to continue to support the subject matter that's in those books. And you know what? I'm on a budget myself. Even checking those books out from the library, that counts too, for sure.
Mhm.
Rating them on Goodreads. Publishers love Goodreads. So that is
Oh,
something
okay.
that's really helpful. I'd say additionally, it's usually a very small group of people or a person that has the
Mhm,
time in the organization
mhm.
to show up at these school committee meetings or a principal's office and share their concerns. And our plates are so full, but if you're able to either, check in on a school committee meeting once in a while, or our school committee meeting will share like digests, and that's where they're going to flag some of this nonsense. So I think that's
Yeah.
really helpful too. Supporting the American Library Association is a big one. I think they just wrapped up a letter writing campaign to your senators and congress people.
Hmm.
That really goes a long way. You get your kids
Mhm.
involved with that, get postcards, do a little like afternoon art activity or something like that, and then send them off. I mean, your children can definitely be involved with that too. And sharing
Those
on
are
your
great tips.
social feeds, how infuriating it is that Missy, like you said, it's one person that doesn't want their child reading about a topic, and now suddenly no one can read about the topic. So just
Yeah.
yeah, so it's part political, it's part, personal, and then it's also, voting with your wallet.
Yeah, that's a great tip, and I really had not thought about it from that perspective, which sounds dumb to say out loud. But I mean, I think we're going to post a
No.
list of banned books and just encourage
Yeah.
people to buy them, check them out, share them. That's a simple thing. And like you said, if you are on a budget, check them out from the library, call libraries, ask for
Absolutely.
them.
Here, I'm
And
gonna share
Let's
some of
see.
these because these are some of the most popular ones to ban, and they are my favorite. Obviously, I am the sex ed person, but
I
the
love that, Suzanne.
what is the big secret?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not the stork,
Classic.
Oh, yeah,
and
it's not the stork
it's
is a
so
great one.
amazing. These are
I
my
don't know that
fave.
one.
Oh, they're all from the same. Robbie H. Harris, the writer, and illustrated by Michael Emberley. And it's
Hmm.
so sad. I've read, I don't even know if it was Robbie. I think it was Robbie that I was just seen on Instagram who gets accused of being, a groomer or a pedophile
Mhm.
for writing these books that
Mhm.
just, I mean, y'all need to check them out. They are just adorable. My kids have been reading them. I bought this stack of books when Zoe, the one who's graduating right now, was in her twos and threes class, and we had the
Yeah.
sex educator Amy Lang come and do her
Mhm.
talk. Just such an amazing thing for kids to be learning from a very young age in the privacy of your own
Yeah,
home, but
right.
also, having access to in libraries. So,
Right. We could do an entire episode
soapbox.
on the hypocrisy of my body, my choice. Don't ram your,
Yes.
like if they want personal freedom and all blah, 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 and saying they're not, you can't make me take the vaccine. You can't do that. But I can make your kid not have these books.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
Suzanne, you may have to edit all that out because I'm just mad and rambling at this point. But like, we
That's-
could do an episode on it. It makes me mad. It makes me
Oh
real
my
mad.
gosh, I know.
So much hypocrisy.
Oh, I'm glad we brought that up though. That's so important.
Yeah, yeah, I want people to think
I
about it, and we'll
appreciate you
definitely
bringing
talk
that up.
about it. And we're gonna pivot again and go totally another way and go to our look, listen,
Yeah.
learns, which are just sort of
Yes.
that's fun. But before we go to that, where can our listeners find you? Where's the best place to follow you?
Instagram, it's at Gene Steele with an underscore at the very end. I cursed the day I deleted my at Gene Steele account years ago, but you know what? You could
Oh,
just go to genesteele.com and then you'll have all your info there.
got
Okay.
it.
All right. And then we will also put the schedule site and the
Thank you.
show notes. I couldn't even think of the word. Thank you, Suzanne, for editing me. Those things that we type and we put them on the computer,
I
they'll
might
be
leave
there.
it in.
And then and don't forget too, I think we shared 20% off code for your listeners.
Yes.
So their
Yes.
entire order, we even have dry erase markers on there and all that stuff. But
That's so generous.
Yes.
I mean, 20% that's
Yeah, the
significant.
little wiper.
we're excited.
Yes.
Yeah, you've got that
Yes.
wiper, you're ready to roll.
Yes.
Yeah, so awesome. But it is time for Look, Listen, Learns. And so anyone who's new here, welcome. Thank you for listening today. And we spend a few minutes at the end of every show talking about what we're looking at, listening to, learning. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's serious, it's books, music. We aren't sticklers about what category things go in, just wherever it feels right. And we don't like to put our guest in the hot seat. So, Suzanne, what are you listening, learning this week?
Oh, well, since I kind of went off on my little thing about these books, I'm gonna change my look. I'm gonna change my look to the New York Times best-selling series with It's Not the Stork, It's So Amazing, and What is the Big Secret? They are based on different age groups for kiddos, depending on, what is age appropriate and what they're kind of ready to learn. I joke about these books. For the first couple of years, I would have them and I'd bring them in and we'd read them. And then I'd bring it out a few months later and we'd read it again. And it was as if they had never seen it before. And so I just think, I mean, for anybody who thinks that we are grooming or like we're brainwashing these kids, no, they take in what their brains are ready to take in.
Yes, they do.
And then the rest of it just kind of goes bloop. And they remember kind of little bits of it, but it's just this layering conversation. So you never ever have to have quote unquote the talk. It's just this ongoing discussion and conversation. They take in what their little brains are able to take in at that point, and then the next time you read it, it's just like, seriously, were you paying attention at all last time?
Yes, the
But
number of time we have had to explain certain things like the menstrual cycle. I mean, they're
Yes.
boys, and it's just
Yeah,
leaves
they
their
don't care.
brain, and they don't care.
But the
Like,
real
what
thing-
happens again? What are you talking about?
The real thing I was looking at though was the Succession finale. But I'm not going to talk about it because I know you have not watched it yet, Missy.
I know I've not started season 3, so sometime this summer we'll get to it.
Yes. And my listen, I have not actually listened to, but my husband was like, "You are not going to believe who is the guest on Smart List this week." Did
I
you
haven't
see
listened
it?
to it yet, but I saw the guest. Yeah.
Depeche Mode. Oh my God. I'm so
Amazing.
excited. I was fangirling out. I was so excited.
Love it.
So I've not listened to it yet. And then learn, you know what? I'm going to save my learn for next time. I'll do a little teaser here. I am learning because I'm in all these curly hair groups that there, and you type your hair based on, the curly or the wave level. And a big movement is taking place there about unless you have textured, like if you are black and have textured natural hair, that is curly. Anything else is pretty much wavy. And there's a lot of people who are like, I've been told I had curly hair my whole life. I just want to call it curly. And, and I was kind of at that stage just because I didn't realize the background of it. And I was like, why are we caring about curly or wavy or whatever? But there's a deeper story behind it as far as kind of like how self-care, there's this racial background undertone to it that a lot of us white ladies had never really clued into, had never thought twice about until we actually started having these conversations. There's a curly wavy thing that is similar, and I'm learning about it, and so I'll have to tell more about it because all I know is that there is a difference, and I think what I'm understanding is that a bunch of us white ladies who think that we have curly hair, but it is not truly curly, are going and buying these products that are made for African American hair and then writing shitty reviews because it's too heavy for our hair. And then the manufacturers are like, oh, well, people are complaining about it. We're going to start, taking out some of the things that make it weight down hair for these people who are buying it, who are the wrong market. It's not for our hair. And so these products that are specifically for women of color, their hair, Black women's hair, they're losing access to it because it's being manufactured in a way that does not work for their hair anymore, because we are buying outside of what is for our actual hair. So I'm learning more, but I just, if that is something that people are hearing about and they're like me and their first thing is like, yeah, heck yeah, tell me this hair is not curly. There is a reason for it that is deeper than just people trying to be really picky about how they term hair. So I'm learning about that, and I will learn more, and I will continue to
share with us what you learned next week.
Yes. What about you?
Well, what about
Jean?
you, Jean? Yeah, what you got going on?
Okay, look, of course, I'm going to take that as an opportunity to talk about reading, right? So I'm
Yes.
reading this book, The Lioness of Boston, and it follows Isabella Stewart Gardner. She was, in her prime in the 1870s, 1880s in Boston, and she was a feminist before the word feminist even existed. She had a really hard time fitting into the blue blood Boston society, much as she tried, but she was a very forward-thinking woman. And it's a historical fiction book about how she learned to speak up and be her true self. And she curated this gorgeous collection of art from around the world, and her home eventually became a museum. And it's an important reminder for me that being different, it's not something to hide. Like it's okay to just, be who you are. And it can be hard to not assimilate and fit in, or it feels like that at times, but it's really powerful to follow your heart. And I'm really enjoying it. And this lady was no joke. No joke.
Oh, I'm dying to read that. I've
I
been to the
know.
museum.
It's really good. It's a fast read too. Listen, okay, so I mentioned Tina Turner earlier, and I like to listen to I'll listen to some like meditations or that type of stuff on the way into work, but I always like to punctuate my drive in as I'm pulling into the staff parking lot with like something upbeat and fun. And
Smart.
a couple I appreciate that, right? Like music is powerful.
Yes.
And I don't know why, but I just, I just had the idea like Proud Mary, and this is before Tina Turner had passed. And for about, the past week, I've been listening just to Proud Mary. And hot damn, I love that song because she is in the driver's seat. Like she's like, okay, we're gonna start off nice and easy. Then she goes on to tell you what to anticipate. This song's gonna end like rough and strong. And I love that she's totally in control. And then I also really like that the lyrics are about, people who are just trying to make ends meet, working for the man every night and day, and never getting to the good side of town. And there are times where I live in a beautiful bubble. I live a charmed life for sure. And not that I don't have my own challenges, but it's a reminder for me as here I am having the privilege to pursue my dreams that it can be very hard for some people. And I think especially now, it's very easy to forget about those that are disenfranchised. And so I love the cadence, I love the spirit of the song, but I also like that it takes me someplace else for a moment and widens my perspective on things, especially before I go into school and I'm with students, and I've students that aren't eating breakfast at home or things like that. So yeah.
I love
That's
that.
awesome.
Okay, I'm going to be totally honest. I've learned to become much more efficient in the morning, and I put my makeup on at stoplights on the way to work. I just keep my makeup in a bag, or if I have to finish it in the women's room at school. Do you know what I mean? Like, time is money, everybody. I don't have time to spend 15 minutes, but I can be stuck in traffic. And recently I complimented a friend at work, a fellow mother. God, your eye makeup is amazing. And she's like, do you want to know a secret? I'm like, yes. And she's like, I put my makeup on at every stoplight on the way to work. I'm like, me too. Yes, sister. I'm telling you, it's a real time saver.
How many times do you get honked at? Or do you, I guess you can keep an eye on the light while you have one eye in the mirror.
I'm pretty.
In Boston traffic, I bet you have a long enough period of time to sit there to do an eye.
Yes.
That is a time-saving hack. Just be safe, people.
Make
sure you are fully stopped.
Never wear while the car is in motion. And if I pull into that parking lot and my makeup isn't done, whatever, I'll get to it sometime in the morning, or I don't get to it. It's all good.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's also okay. I see people doing it all the time, and I just don't feel
Yeah.
gifted enough to be able to put on my mascara in an automobile. But I see people do it.
Give
Just
it
don't
a
need
try
to.
it one time, like on a Saturday or something where,
Yeah.
Oh
me
my
I do
know.
always
gosh.
put my lipstick on the go. That seems to be the thing I never
There
remember,
you
so
go.
I'll be doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What do you listen, learn, and
Oh
Missy?
gosh, I just can't even believe I'm gonna tell y'all I'm watching this, but I have been watching The Secrets of Hillsong, which is a documentary about Hillsong Church,
I don't know what that
and
is.
it's good. That's good you don't know. And I
Are you
will
worried we're
say
going to
just
judge you?
right here a little bit. It's right here, like, there's a trigger warning. There's religious trauma, sexual assault trauma.
Mm.
There's a lot of crap. I have an endless fascination with the fact that people still continue to be surprised when religious leaders do bad things.
Mm.
And I'm grinning while I say that, but it's more of like a morbid curiosity. But I don't understand it. I caught on very young that these people who are revered as leaders are just people. And there's nothing wrong with just being people, but there's something wrong with covering up bad stuff and being focused just on money and success. And, we can't tell anybody this because it'll bring down the church kind of stuff. So it's fascinating. It's awful. I just don't know why I can't turn away from it. It makes me feel terrible when I watch it though. But and I will just say anybody who is unpacking religious stuff, which I have been doing for a number of years now, it's hard at times. So I watch it in little bits and pieces. I don't know how many episodes total it is, maybe just like 4. And I've seen 3 that I've watched had to spread out. So it's on Hulu if anyone is interested. So that is, I am
may have
doing
to
some
check
looking
that
and
out.
learning with that, because then I've gone to do some research and
I don't judge you though,
think
because
about
I
it.
watch Bama Rush. So
Well, you have to tell us. I know it's not currently you're not your look, listen, learn, and you maybe don't want to talk about it, but you can edit it out. I've heard it's not worth watching, and it was on my list. What do you think?
it's not. Well, it depends what you're watching it for. It ended up being more the story of the woman who's actually doing the documentary.
That's what I heard. And she has alopecia, which is interesting.
She has
right?
alopecia, and it's just this very interesting story about her kind of weaving her story with her alopecia and how that weaves into, I guess, some of the girls who are then rushing for. I thought it was going to be more entertaining, not scandalous, but more like in the
I thought it was going to be like Bama Rush TikTok.
No, it was very. No, I mean, it was interesting if you go into it knowing that it's going to be more of the story of the documentarian and not as much about the Bama Rush. It should be I don't know, to the point of like everybody has a story and it's kind of interesting and you can find how, learn about yourself and all that things through other experiences. So that was interesting, but it's very much framed. I mean, it's called Bama Rush. You'd think it'd be like,
like it's
Bama Rush.
In a documentary, you want to know more about the subject than the maker usually, but whatever.
It sounds like a mockumentary where it ends up being just about.
Let me tell you about me.
Yes.
And I thought it was
about you.
The first time she did it, I thought it was just going to be this like, oh, what an interesting like peek behind the lens. And Chris, my husband really hates it. Like we watch Survivor, and the host, the season that we're watching right now, he's like, they're breaking, is it called the third wall or whatever it is? He's like, I don't like it when he breaks the third wall, because he'll be doing something and all of a sudden he'll turn to the camera and be like, now we're going to let the contestants come in or whatever. And he'll be like, stop it, Jeff. Like, I don't like
Don't
it.
talk to me.
And so it was very much the first time she did it was just a little bit of like, ooh, interesting. Okay, there's somebody behind the camera. But then all of a sudden it was like, let me tell you a little bit more. And I don't know. She seems like a very nice woman. I have nothing against her. Yeah. It's just like not what I was going for, like just total sugar.
Just
I wanted cotton
out.
candy show. I didn't want to have the deep thoughts. So
right.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to see their OOTD, their outfit of the day.
I know. Is it
about anything serious?
No. So no, if you're ready to think deep thoughts about Rush and how that applies to our self-concept and our self-worth and that type of thing, then but if you just want some outfit of the days and
that's not what it's for. Okay, good to know.
No. Anyway, now I've had too many looks. I took over your look, Missy.
That's all right. That's all right. I have a really quick listen learn. It's the same thing. I've been listening to You Should Write a Book with Camille Pagan. I've talked about her before. She's been my look, like I've read her books, but she has a podcast called You Should Write a Book, and the topics vary, but the one I've been listening to recently is about the business and how to have a successful debut, which I am definitely cart before the horse. I have so many words left to write, but it's been interesting and it's encouraging. So I was thinking about you, Jean, that it would be something you might want to listen to as well, because you're getting close.
I'm writing it down for sure.
Yeah.
That's I've heard great things about her. Admittedly, this will be my first sit down reading her.
Oh
her
yeah,
work.
I love her books. They just hit me the right way. Like they're good, but her story's interesting. You know, she's had the ups and downs that so many authors have had. She's been dropped by publishers. She's had terrible reviews. She's had bad luck and has figured out how to make this work for herself and is now sharing it. So I think that's great.
And how cool is that, right? That it isn't like this guarded secret.
Right.
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 Yeah, I feel
That's
like
what I love
especially
about her.
with like no one need not go through the pain and struggles that I've gone through. Like I am putting it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like there's
love
ways
that.
around this. You don't have to suffer.
Yes.
And where are you in your book, Jean?
I am going through another round of revisions. I started working with a book coach. Again, I met through the Zibby world, and I can't recommend it enough because I finally have, it's almost equivalent to a doula. It's like I have someone holding my hand saying, it's going to be okay. Or I can talk with someone outside of like a blood relative or my husband. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I
she's
do.
given
Yep.
me amazing feedback. I can't say enough positive things about Author Accelerator. And
we love Author Accelerator.
Yes, we
I didn't
do.
realize it. Okay, we love Jenny Nash. I'm a
Yeah.
sucker for Jenny.
I only discovered her recently, excuse me, of course, through Zibby. Like anything book or writing wise, I always have to cite my source and say it came from Zibby Owens.
It's a
Zibby's
Zibby world, and we're just living in it.
Yes.
Heck yes, sister.
Okay, well then I have another list, and we talk about this all the time. Our friend Abby, who does the Mom Rights podcast, actually she does not do it anymore. It was like 5 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
That's how I met Abby, actually, and she's just become. We've had her on as a guest in her
She's
chicken
fantastic.
and several of her animals.
Yeah,
but
I love her.
she actually worked with Jenny, but she and her friend, who both let's see, I think she is just starting her book, and Melanie had a book in a drawer. So they were kind of at different stages of their books, but they were getting coached by Jenny through the course of this podcast.
Week by week. It was pretty awesome.
And it was so cool. So she met Jenny obviously through doing that. And I know not everybody that you get coached with through Author Accelerator is Jenny. We're just really big fans of hers. But the whole group of coaches that they work with in that program, I've been so impressed with everybody that I've met through there. So big fans. That's awesome.
That's so great to hear, that it's not just like a one-off with my experience. And yeah, again, like strength in numbers. When you're working with a community of people, you're not alone. You have that support. It's wonderful.
It is wonderful.
Yeah. And everybody can use a coach. We learned that because KJ Dell'Antonia had Jenny work with her on her boots. Where do I have in her boots here?
I think I do.
I know. I have been secretly looking at both of your bookcases. Ladies,
Chicken Sisters with me.
Oh, it was Chicken Sisters.
Yeah.
I was wondering why I didn't have the Reese Witherspoon sticker on it. Of course, this was the advanced copy before it became a Reese Witherspoon.
I haven't read that book. I'm so embarrassed.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So Chicken Sisters was the one.
She has a new one coming out that's like witchy, and I'm so excited.
Playing the Witch card is the
Playing the
next
Witch
one.
card.
We're just going to dedicate this episode to KJ Dell'Antonia.
But
yeah, it's not the first time.
But we had her on many moons ago too, and she was sharing. She had Jenny obviously help her with the Chicken Sisters book, and just the idea that here was this woman who was an editor of the Well family for New York Times for years and years and years, a very accomplished writer, but even she benefited from having a coach. when writing her first fiction book. So I just thought it was a really powerful thing that there's just no shame in asking for a community or for help or for this doula to help you through this process. So,
whatever it is you're doing, a business coach, a life coach, a book coach, a running coach. Like, we have talked to so many guests who just, they look like, and they're at the top of their game, but they're not doing it alone. And they see the value in having that outside source who's not your husband or your partner or your whoever it is, your friend that you dump on all the time, like someone who is really there to guide whatever this is you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, I think about that with the two of you, right? That you as a team, you're your own powerhouse where you can feed off of each other. You can bring in different guests from different perspectives. And I imagine that it has to be really empowering to have a partner to do this important work that you're doing versus shouldering it all on your own.
This would not happen. Suzanne might make this happen on her own. I think about that a lot. Like, I think Suzanne could do this by herself. But I would not be here if I did not have a partner to do it. It's synergistic and it brings a different energy to it. And we do each bring our own things to it. And there's something magical about working with another person.
I'm a Gretchen Rubin obliger, so I need someone else that I'm accountable to. So yes,
I'm also an obliger. It's a
and
miracle
it's not a
we pull this off.
weakness.
Yes, no, that's just how my brain works. So I acknowledge that, and no, I still don't know how two Enneagram 9s get anything done at any point.
You're both 9s?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Do you know your number?
I did back in the day because my sister participated in all the courses. I'll ask and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
I don't know. Or do you want to take a guess?
What I think you are?
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a 3. But
I think I am on the lower end of the spectrum. I even forget what that means, but
it doesn't mean anything. But I can see you being a 3 or maybe a 2 or a 3 with a strong 2 wing. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to really guess, but
I know.
I just have a vibe.
I'm not very good at typing or no. I mean,
it took,
selfish.
How long did it take us to type ourselves?
Oh my God. It took me like 3 months. We brought a professional on when we were first starting the podcast. One of our very first guests was an Enneagram coach because we were trying to figure it out. And
we both thought we were 6s for a long time, which I think is a common 9 thing. So
yes. We've just really covered a lot.
Yeah, we did. This was so much fun.
Thank you for being here on a holiday day.
What's that?
Thank you for being here on a holiday day too. Like taking some of your
Thank you for
Memorial
hitting the pause button in your respective lives on a holiday day to come chat with me. I don't take your time for granted.
Oh no, it was actually an absolute pleasure because when things are so hectic and crazy and busy, it's so easy to just start going faster and faster and faster. So it's just really nice to just have that pause button. And
I was looking so forward to it today.
And I get so energized from these conversations, especially with amazing people like yourself. So this is what I needed to refill and be able to go back and do whatever I was doing outside. Well, now it's too hot. So now you gave me a great excuse to stop doing what I was doing outside and
kick back and relax.
Yeah,
sister.
Exactly.
All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your holiday day and I hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you. I hope to talk with you both again. And just thank you again. This was such an amazing opportunity and just keep doing what you're doing. Go, go, go. It's great stuff.
You too. Oh, thank you.
Have a good afternoon, evening. It's evening where you are.
Yeah, have a good evening.
All right.
Thanks, you too. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Mom and ... podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you know someone else who could benefit from the episode, please be sure and share it with them. And while we're begging, please subscribe and rate us wherever it is you listen to podcasts. You can find links to all the things we discussed today in our show notes or over at our website, momandpodcast.com, with the A and D spelled out. In between shows, find us over at the socials, including our private Mom and Community Facebook group. The links to that group and all of our socials can be found at momandpodcast.com. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you more than you know. Now go out there and make your ellipses count.